Hello and welcome to the All Rookie Podcast. Today is June 18th, 2024, and I'm your host, William Harris, aka William is Bill. Today we have a very special episode, my favorite episode of the draft cycle, my player comparisons episode. Now, there are a lot of experts, analysis that frown upon player comparisons. This is my favorite thing because to the average fan, if you're not taking a deep dive into these college players, you want to know what they play like. And you can break it down, the fundamentals, what they can and can't do. But especially if you're listening on a podcast, it's really hard to envision what these players are. So when you give them a player comparison, it gives you an idea along with the information about them, what type of player we're talking about. So, the people that don't like them are probably that don't like giving the comparisons are probably just not that good at them. But for me, I enjoy doing it. I'm normally pretty good at it. So let's get straight to it like it's nothing to it. There's no real order. I mean, I'm just gonna go in this order that I selected. But first, let's start with Alex Sarr, the guy that a lot of people think will be the number one pick in the draft. In my opinion, he has a player comparison to a pretty solid NBA starting center. Now, a lot of these players in the draft normally do not have a comp, in my opinion, and I don't force it. But I have picked 20 players for this podcast that I feel do have a pretty direct player comparison in the realm of their possibilities. So, like I said, Alex Sarr, my comparison to him, I'll go ahead and say it right now and get it out of the way. Nick Claxton. Now, this is Nick Claxton in college. Let's start with Alex Sarr. He's 19 years old, averaged 10 points, 4.5 boards, 1 assist, zero point 0.4 steals, 1.5 blocks. He shot 50% from the field, 28% from three. Solid numbers. Nick Claxton averaged 13 points, 9 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, 2.5 blocks per game, 46 from three, 46% from the field, and 28% from three. So those numbers are very similar. Claxton was a much better rebounder. But, you think of Nick Claxton now as just a rim runner, rebounder, defender. But Nick Claxton could shoot the ball in college, and I believe he is more like playing a role in the NBA. So, he was not a high draft pick. Sometimes you have to get in where you can fit in. Alex Sarr will be. So I think his offensive game will be utilized more than Nick Claxton's. But if you compare their college tapes, they're pretty similar. But as far as Alex Sarr, he has touch on his shot. He moves very well for a big man, can put his head down, get to the rim. He shoots the three with confidence and, very bouncy player, has a good pull-up jump shot. If you put him with a good point guard, I think he's going to be a really good player. But in the vein of these skinnier centers that are taking over the league, I think he'll be just fine. Similar in size wise to Nick Claxton. Like I said, Alex Sarr is 7'1", 217. Nick Claxton is 6'11", 220. So that's pretty much identical in size as well. So, they both shoot the outside shot. They have a great around the rim polish to them. They both run the floor well, can create their own shot, athletic and bouncy. The shooting numbers are similar, the height and weight. Nick Claxton was actually a better shot blocker and rebounder, but he also played 2 years in college. Sarr is only coming off being 19 years old, coming into the draft, playing from overseas. So we'll see how that competition translates. But rebounds and blocks were similar in Nick Claxton's first year. But I definitely think Sarr has a higher ceiling because Claxton is not going to ever really be viewed upon as a scoring center or someone that's going to back you down and be dominant offensively. And Sarr can do that, but I think his floor is Nick Claxton. Next, let's go with Donovan Clingan. My comparison to him is Ivica Zubac. Now, Donovan Clingan, 7'2", 280, 13 points per game, almost 8 rebounds, a half assist, a half steal, 2.5 blocks per game, 64% from the field, almost 30% from three, and terrible free throw shooter. 20 years old, big body, traditional center. Now, Ivica Zubac, big body, traditional center, but 40 pounds lighter. He went 32nd in the draft, and he was better offensively than Donovan Clingan. But Ivica Zubac is 7 foot, 240. So, like I said, Clingan is 280. He's only 2 inches higher, 40 pounds higher, heavier. And he averaged 10 points, 8 boards, and 1 block per game. So Clingan is a better shot blocker, better defender. He's a little bit taller than Ivica, but Ivica is better skilled offensively and was more athletic coming into the league. So Ivica never shot threes. I think Clingan can, and Zubac is a much better free throw shooter. So, but if Donovan Clingan, not very athletic, not very strong in the paint. He's very heavy at the 280, played around 265, but he still wasn't able to get the position that I would have liked to see him get. So he was kind of being not bullied, but held in check by college centers. So that makes me wonder how it's going to be in the NBA. But Clingan definitely has a soft touch in the paint, runs the floor well, had a great team around him that I believe helped him succeed in the NBA. But I just think Clingan can be a starting center in this league, but in the vein of Ivica Zubac, and he's a bottom 10 starting center. I think Clingan will be that as well, and he's definitely going to have to get his weight down to be able to keep up with the faster motion of the NBA, running up and down the court. Otherwise, he's going to not be able to play a full complement of minutes. So we'll see what happens. Clingan is talented, but he's in an interesting situation. It can go either way. Next, I have Zachary Richechet, and my player comparison for him is Grady Dick. Zachary Richechet is 6'9", 200 pounds. Grady is 6'8", 205. So that's right there. 19 years old for Richechet, averaged 11 points, 3 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, shot 48% from the field, and 43% from 3. Now, Grady Dick averaged 14 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, 1.5 steal, 44% from the field, pretty identical, 40% from 3. So very close right there as well. And, Grady Dick ended up going 13th in his draft class. And so, I had Richechet going 9th. He's the 9th best prospect in my big board. But Richechet, really good spot up shooter, plays a lot on the perimeter, smaller than he actually is. He loves the one quick move, jab step to create a space. Finishes with a lot of finesse at the rim. He plays like a shooting guard, but he's the size of a power forward, height-wise. But he's deadly when left open and in space, always makes the right pass, very unselfish player. But he's not really going to create his own shot like you want in a number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5 pick in the draft. I don't like the slowness in this game, and the strength is a weakness in this game, but he guards well around the perimeter for his size, and he can his wingspan helps him on defense as well. But I just don't see him translating into a do it all type of player. I think he will play his role very well, similar to a way Grady Dick will be in the NBA. And I think that comparison is pretty spot on. What do you guys think about that? Am I off base with that? Because the NBA seems to think he is a top 2 pick. I have him, like I said, 9th, and I could see him going 5th to Detroit because they need the shooting, but he's my 9th ranked prospect. All right, next we have Isaiah Collier. Isaiah Collier, y'all know my favorite prospect in this draft class, 6'4", 205 from USC. My comparison for him is John Wall. And similar in size, Isaiah Collier averaged 16 points, 3 boards, 4 assists per game, 1.5 steal per game, 49% from the field, 34% from 3. John Wall averaged 16 points, 4 boards, 6.5 assists, almost 2 steals per game. And Wall had, there's a lot of talk about Collier, his efficiency, his turnovers. John Wall averaged 4 turnovers per game. Isaiah Collier averaged 3 turnovers per game. John Wall shot 32% from 3. Isaiah Collier shot 34% from 3. So there's a lot of talk. Collier can't shoot. He shot better than John Wall. And John Wall shot 46% from the field. Isaiah Collier, 49% from the field. All his numbers are better except for assist. And so they are the same height, similar play style, similar stats. John Wall is faster and a better passer. But Isaiah Collier is a little bit better of a shooter. So, Isaiah Collier's getting slept on. He could be a sleeping giant right in front of everyone's faces. I'm the only one that seems to see it. Could it not happen? Of course. But it would be more than likely that he's going to hit for me as a point guard in this league. Point guards get overthought. Think of the guys in the playoffs: Jalen Brunson, 2nd-round pick; Tyrese Maxey, picked in the 20s. So the Derek White, late-round pick. So we will see what happens. But Isaiah Collier, if you look at the tape of these two players, Isaiah Collier, John Wall, it's like the same person in a different jersey. So, Isaiah Collier needs to be around better talent, a better team, but he can do it all on the court offensively. Good vision, dynamic movement on offense and defense. He's tremendous at getting steals. That's his thing. He has great speed and hands to help him with the steals. His vision may be better on defense than offense. So, I think he can guard and stay in front of his man. He's a pro already, ready to compete. Can stop on a dime like the dynamic point guards we've seen in the past. Has a killer crossover, but doesn't overuse it. And I just think he's going to be a starting point guard in this league. He was ranked the #1 player in the 2023 class coming into college. He missed a little bit of time with the hand injury, but Isaiah Collier has a reliable mid-range game, super fast in the vein of De'Aaron Fox. So I just think, look out for that. People sleeping on Isaiah Collier. Check out the John Wall tape. Next, I have Tyler Smith on my list. Isaiah Collier and Tyler Smith, both two dynamic players that I loved evaluating in this draft class. Tyler Smith, 6'11", 220 from the G League Ignite. I believe John Collins is 6'9", around that same weight. But Tyler Smith averaged 14 points, 5 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block per game, 48% from the field. And Tyler Smith shot 36% from 3. And that was in 22 minutes per game. Now, John Collins, as a sophomore, averaged 10 points, 1.5 blocks, and not much else. John Collins is 6'10", 220. So like I said, Tyler Smith, 6'11", 220. So they're pretty close in size. It seems like John Collins is not 6'10", but either way, that's close. But Tyler Smith, super athlete. We know John Collins used to be a big-time dunker as well. And he could shoot. John Collins was able to develop a 3-point shot once he was in the NBA. Tyler Smith has it already, so he's ahead of the curve in that area. He's a great stretch pick and pop 4-man or 5-man, moves great without the ball, can drive for get the easy bucket, very versatile, new age big. He can play the 4 or 5, like I said, great putback dunker, and great wingspan to play defense, great shot blocker, rim protector, moves well for his size. I just think he's a taller, longer version of John Collins. And like I said, he's ahead of him in the game because he started shooting threes earlier. But John Collins was a much better rebounder, and he now shoots threes. So we'll see if Tyler Smith can get his rebounding up, and we will see. But look out for Tyler Smith. I definitely think he should be a top 10 player in this draft, and nobody's talking about it. Next, Reed Sheppard. Yes, Reed Sheppard from Kentucky. Have a player comp on him. On face value, you're going to be like, what? Because these guys are way different in size. But Reed Sheppard is the Kentucky shooting guard that's 6'2", maybe 6'3" on a good day, 190 pounds, averaged 12.5 points, 4 boards, 4.5 assists, 1 block, 53% from the field, 52% from three. My comparison to him is Corey Kispert. Corey Kispert is 5 inches taller than him. But other than that, their games in college are kind of similar. 30 pounds heavier as well because he's taller. But Corey Kispert averaged 18 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal per game, 53% from the field. That's identical. 44% from three. And as I said, Reed Sheppard 52, but both excellent. You don't see much higher 3-point percentage than 44%. So he was right there with them. But Corey Kispert could do a lot more with his size and athleticism in college. You hear the talk, Reed Sheppard had the highest vertical. I don't know what he was on that day. He was even surprised by it. He said it must have been an error because he doesn't know how he jumped that high. That leaping ability is not used in Reed Sheppard's game. So it may look nice on the combine stats and stuff, but that doesn't affect his game. But Reed Sheppard is a lights out 3-point shooter. He can create his own 3-point shot at times and definitely spot up for it. He has a great pull-up jumper. Definitely the nation's best 3-point shooter. And he looks like a coach's kid out there. He plays the right way, has a perfect form on his shot, picture perfect 3-pointer. He's just too small to be a shooting guard, a small forward in the NBA. He's going to have to be a ball handler, and I don't think he's ready for that. And as good as Corey Kispert was in college, trust me, he was amazing in college. When it comes to the NBA, that doesn't necessarily translate. You get put into a role where you don't get to do as much. So if Reed Sheppard's put in that role where he's not doing as much, that's not a top 10 pick in this league. It could be argued it's not a top 20 pick in this league. So it's going to be very interesting to see where Reed Sheppard goes and the position he's put in. And if he's going to be used as a shooting guard, most of those lineups don't work when you have a small shooting guard and small point guard. And most teams are trying to move away from that. So we will see how that goes. But, Corey Kispert was amazing in college, better than Reed Sheppard, and he wasn't a top 10 pick. But this is a weaker draft as far as, dynamicism. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm making one. But Reed Sheppard, Corey Kispert. Up next, Dalton Connect. My comparison to Dalton Connect is Khris Middleton. Dalton Connect is 6'6", 215, senior from Tennessee. Averaged 22 points per game, 5 boards, 2 assists, and 40% from three. Khris Middleton, 6'7", so 6'7" to 6'6", 217 to 215, same size pretty much on the spot. Now, Khris Middleton, 13 points, 5 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal per game. In college, he only shot 30% from three, but we know he's a lights out 3-point shooter now. We know Connect is good at everything, but not really special at anything other than the 3-pointer. But he can get his shot. He can get by his man. He's crafty. I just see him more of a role player in the NBA, but he's a real good shooter from deep and all over the court. Gets good elevation on his shot. He's a perfect college player. I just worry about it translating because he does not create much space. So that's going to be even harder in the NBA. But he is athletic, so it's possible. And like I said, Khris Middleton, it took him a while to get his rotation in the NBA. He had to do things in the G League and before he got his opportunity. I think Dalton Connect can be like Khris Middleton is more like now. Khris Middleton's in his mid-30s now, but he still does some of the things that Dalton Connect does. So we'll see what his ceiling will be. But Khris Middleton is who I see when I see Dalton Connect. Number 8, Jacoby Walter. My comparison for Jacoby Walter is Josh Christopher. Josh Christopher was dynamic in college. Jacoby Walter, 6'5", Josh Christopher, 6'5". Now, Josh Christopher is 20 pounds heavier than Jacoby Walter at 215 compared to 195. But Jacoby Walter averaged 14.5 points, 4.5 boards. Josh Christopher, 14 points, 4.5 boards, 1.5 assists, 1.5 assists. Jacoby Walter, 1 steal. Josh Christopher, 1.5 steal. I mean, these are like the identical players. And 38% from the field for Jacoby Walter compared to 43% for Christopher. 34% from three for Walter, and 30% from three for Christopher. They're both good three-point shooters, good ball handlers, and both are a little too fancy and loose with the ball at times. But Jacoby Walter was impressive for a freshman. He just needs more NBA coaching. I think he probably should have went back to school, but he's getting talk that he'll be in the lottery. But he can do everything offensively. Has a quick jab step, can get to a spot whenever he wants, and dynamic on offense. Great hands and a knack for getting steals on defense. But Josh Christopher, go back and look at his tape. He was amazing in college, incredible at the combine, and that still didn't translate. So we're gonna have to see if Jacoby Walter can do whatever Josh Christopher did not. So he'll flourish in the NBA. So with that being said, I have Jacoby Walter at 25th in my rankings, because the whole Josh Christopher thing is real. I think Josh Christopher is probably better than him, and he's in the G League. So it's gonna depend on the team, the coaching, and all that good stuff. Next, to John Salon, my 20th ranked prospect, 6'9", 200 pounds from France, 9.5 points, 4 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal per game, 33% from three. My comparison to him is Michael Porter Jr., like with the Nuggets now, where he's not the number 1, number 2, sometimes number 3 player. I think he can fill that role for a team, being 6'9", small forward, maybe play some power forward. But like I said, 9-4, 1-1. Michael Porter Jr. averaged 10, 7, and 1, in college, but he only played 3 games in college. But Michael Porter Jr. is 6'10", 215. Tajon Shalon, 6'9", 200. Very tall, long forward, very aggressive, great handle on his dribble, great form, great shot, very high release on his shot, but still weak in the paint. And with his shooting and the way he moves and gets open, I think that will be useful in the NBA. But he has a smooth game. I just wonder if he'll be able to do more than that, or just stand in the corner and be a three-point shooter due to the lack of physicality in his game. So at the ceiling, I think he could be MPJ now as a third or fourth option. The floor could be Pat Baldwin, because he's not that different from Pat Baldwin as well, who was good and has a lot of potential, but can't get on the floor. So it can go either way. Next, we have Devin Carter. This was a fun evaluation. It may sound not correct to you guys, but when you look at the tape, trust me on this one. Devin Carter, 6'3", from Providence, 195 pounds. My comparison to him is Jose Alvarado. But you're going to say, Jose Alvarado, wait a minute. He was not a highly thought of prospect. He's tiny. Yes. Jose is 6 foot, 180. Devin Carter, 6'3", 195. He's a taller version of Jose Alvarado with a better offensive game. Devin Carter averaged 20 points, 9 boards, 3.5 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block per game. Jose Alvarado, 14 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, 50% from the field, and 39% from three. So those numbers are not far off. The shooting is similar. Obviously, Devin is a much better rebounder and scorer. But when you look at the tape of Jose in college, he was a floor general, put all his players in the right spot, crafty, intelligent scorer, just like Devin Carter. And both really good three-point shooter, shoot a lot of tough shots. But Devin Carter is not flashy. He just gets it done. But like I said, with the steals, the gimmick steals from Jose Alvarado. But Devin Carter's great at getting steals as well. 2 per game. Very confident player. Surprises you with his athleticism. Draws in defenders and kicks it out to the open man. He clearly is a veteran player. And I just love his game. He's 21 years old, and that's why you see it in his game. Both, like I said, great at getting steals. Both floor generals. But Devin's size should allow him to be a starter in the league as opposed to a relief guy like Jose Alvarado. So that was the first 10. Let's go ahead and go to the second half of my list and start with number 11, Tristan da Silva. My comparison for him, Nicholas Batum. And you can go with both versions. Nick Batum is like 36 years old now, but an essential player for the Sixers. De Silva is 6'9", 220. Batum 6'8", 230. De Silva, 16 points, 5 boards, 2.5 assists, 1 steal, 0.6 blocks per game. Batum's career average in the NBA is 11 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, around 36% from 3. De Silva, 39.5% from 3. And De Silva is 22 years old. Like I said, excellent three-point shooter, handles the ball very well for his size, being 6'9", one of the best shooters in the draft, dribbles like a guard. He's one of those guys that can play right away and help a team that everybody would feel they have a good spot for him, a guy that every team wants. The question is, can he be more than just that perfect role player? We will see. Or will he be Nick Batum-like, which is still necessary? He's a pro, 15 years in the league. Everything is smooth and easy. But I love how he can drive to the left or the right, perfectly finishing in the paint, making crafty moves, very alert on defense. Batum has been a max contract guy and in the league for 10 plus years. He was a very important player in Portland, where he earned himself that contract. And later in the year, he won games for the Sixers this year in the playoffs. And so he's very vital to winning teams. So Tristan De Silva, you can't miss with him. He should be a top 15 pick in this draft. He's my 12th ranked player. 11th ranked player, actually. All right, I'm talking too much. My throat's getting dry. So I'm going to shorten the rest of these guys for you a little bit. Next, number 12, Yves Missi from Baylor, 6'11", 235. My comparison to him, Clint Capella. You put the tape on, they look identical. Capella averaged 11, 5.5 boards, 1.5 blocks per game. Clint Capella, that was Missi, by the way. Capella averaged 12 points, 11 boards, 1.5 blocks per game. And that's throughout his career. Their games are very similar, and Capella worked very well with James Harden and Trae Young. Tremendous shot blockers, long arms, rim protectors, great leaping ability. This is probably the closest comparison you will see. They are the same person, and you're getting Yves Missi at a younger version of Clint Capella, who's super vital. And his potential is to get even better and potentially start shooting the ball, because he's no three-point shooting throughout his college career, at 19 years old. Of course, that's probably going to come being in the NBA, and he's going to work on his post moves and outside shooting. But the floor for Yves Missi is low, the ceiling is high. Next, let's go to Carlton Carrington, my guy. You may know him as Bub Carrington. He is very similar to Joe Johnson. I think somebody's going to be getting a steal with Carlton Carrington, the 6'5", 195-pound guard from Pittsburgh, averaged 14, 5, and 4 per game at 32% from 3. Now, Joe Johnson, 6'7", 225, so bigger than Carlton at 6'5", 190. But he averaged 15, 6, 2 assists, 1.5 steals per game, and 40% from 3. So much better shooter. But both have excellent mid-range games. Joe's just a better shooter all around, but their games are very similar. Joe did play 2 years in college, but his freshman stats are a lot closer to Carlton's, especially that three-point percentage is 36% compared to 32. But both are super smooth and really good shooting guard prospects. And I see it pretty perfectly, the comparison. And he's 18 years old, future very bright. He's very confident in himself. You can tell when he gets the ball, he feels he can just cook anybody he's going up against. I love Carlton Carrington's game. And if he's Joe Johnson, that's an incredible career. Obviously. Next, Keyshawn George. My comparison for him is Delano Banton. You may know him from his end-of-year success last season. Keyshawn George, 6'8", 205. That's right, 6'8" point guard. Delano Banton, 6'9", 205, point guard. He averaged 7 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 41% from three. That was Keyshawn. Banton, shot 25% from three, averaged 10 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Keyshawn, good spot up 3-point shooter, very slow point guard, tall, of course, but doesn't finish well in the paint. I think he's a project that may have to be in the G League for 2 years, but the teams will love his size and shooting ability. And that so happened to be what happened to Delano Banton. He was in the G League the majority of his first 2 years, and he was able to show what he developed into late in the season. Keyshawn has great court vision. And I just think the comp is Delano Banton. Banton moves faster. He's more fluid and more natural with the ball in his hands on offense. And Keyshawn George shoots the ball better. But other than that, their games are kind of similar. And I can see the trajectory going into that route. Next, I have Jalen Tyson. Jalen Tyson, for me, his comparison is Isaac Okoro. And it may not be in a direct comparison because one can shoot, one cannot. But still, I will get into that. Jalen Tyson, 6'7", 215 from California. Almost 20 points per game, 7 boards, 3.5 assists, 1 steal, a half block per game. Okoro, 6'6", 225, averaged 13 points, 4.5 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block per game. Tyson shot 36.5% from three. Isaac Okoro, 28% from three. So Jalen obviously is a much better shooter, and Isaac Okoro is a much better defender. I almost said Jonathan Isaac. He is too, but still. Jalen Tyson moves very methodical to get to the basket, a lot of hesitation and dribbling to get to the rack. Pro scorer at the college level, but dribbling, he needs to work on that. Nothing really comes easy for him. He moves very well on defense. Big muscular body for a small forward, and he's built just like Isaac Okoro, plays like Isaac Okoro, and Okoro is just more smooth offensively, but Tyson is a better shooter. So pretty good comp there, if I must say so myself. Next, Johnny Furphy. My comparison for him, Kyle Korver. Furphy is 6'9". Kyle is 6'7", similar weight. Furphy averaged 9 points, 5 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal. Kyle averaged 14 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, 2 steals per game, and 45% from three. Furphy, 36% from three. Now, they're similar in size, like I said. Johnny's 2 inches taller, but Kyle was a much better shooter, of course. But both good shooters off the ball, great size. I feel Furphy would probably be a spot-up shooter in the NBA. But it's that perfect role that winning teams want, that Kyle Korver role, that Danny Green role. But he does cut well to the basket. I just don't see him being more than a role player that will help open up the floor for everyone else, which is needed. But being 19, he will only improve his three-point shooting. Like I said, 36%. I think he actually can shoot better than that. But I think he will be good for good teams, not so important for bad teams. So it's going to be important who drafts him. Next, I have AJ Johnson. And my comparison to him is Kevin Porter Jr. AJ Johnson, 6'5", 160 pounds, needs to get some weight on him. Kevin Porter Jr., 10 points, 4 boards, 1.5 assists, 1 steal, half block per game. AJ Johnson, 3 points, 1 board, 1 assist, no steals, no blocks. And Kevin Porter Jr., 41% from three. AJ Johnson, 28% from three. So by the numbers, KPJ is way better than him in every aspect, but AJ Johnson can be that. He didn't get much of an opportunity playing for the NBL Hawks, but he's an explosive athlete, very fast, but still plays under control, can do everything on the offensive end, great handle, can shoot it, can score whenever he wants, can break down the defense. But, overseas, they play the veterans. They don't care about the young players. But just the way he plays is pretty identical to Kevin Porter Jr. I think he can play the 1 or 2. He does have a great handle of the ball, great facilitator. But he's going to have to be a projection like Peyton Watson was, because Peyton Watson averaged 3 points per game. AJ Johnson, 3 points per game. You know, we've seen him in the combine, look solid. It's going to take the right team for AJ Johnson. He's a guy that could fall or could rise. It can go either way, but he's not an all-encompassing player. Like, not every team is going to want him. Like, for instance, let's say this next guy. Number 18 on my list, Pele Larson or Pell Larson. 6'5" from Arizona. My comparison is Grayson Allen from Duke. He's 6'4", 195 in college. Pell averaged 13 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal per game, and 42.5% from three. Grayson, 14 points, 3 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, 37% from three as a senior, 42% from three as a sophomore. So Pell Larson was a better 3-point shooter than Grayson Allen, and that was what Grayson Allen was known for. So, I mean, other than being dirty. But you just wouldn't expect that because this is a guy that's projected in the second round. Very good player. He should be no later than the 30s, in my opinion, in this draft class. I can see him being in the 20s. He's an excellent 3-point shooter. He's not just a shooter either. He's fast and athletic. At that guard spot, he can hit the step back or spot up three. He can create his own shot when he feels the need. Quick thinking player. Very much like Grayson Allen coming out of college, should be a good pro. Fast when cutting without the ball, can turn on the jets, can get to the rim without hesitation. Very smooth guard. If you need a shooting guard anywhere after the top 20, he's worth the risk. It's debatable if you want to say, is he that much worse than Dalton Connect? I mean, they could really be right there. So, and we know even if he's not and he gets minimalized to more of a role like Grayson Allen just got the bag, you know, so he's a very essential player in the NBA. Both great 3-point shooters and perfect fit for any good team, perfect role players. And so Pell's a little bigger in height and weight, so ceiling is crazy. Next, I have 2 guys that you may not have heard of for 19 and 20. For 19, Ariel Hukporti. My comparison for him is Paul Reed. He's my 53rd ranked player. He is 6'11" from Germany, 250 pounds. Paul Reed is only 6'9", 220, but they still play alike. He averaged 8.7 boards, 1.5 blocks. That's Ariel Hukporti I'm talking about. Paul Reed, over his college career, averaged 15, 11, 2 steals, and 2.5 blocks. So numbers much better. But Ariel missed a year with a ruptured Achilles, but he is a dunker and rim runner. Has a nice baby hook shot. Normally catches in the paint and go up. Offensive rebounds and putbacks, but he does have a little bit of a post game. He's a lob threat, and he should be in a much better position than Paul Reed because he's 2 inches taller. But as of now, he definitely wants to be as close to the basket as possible. But you know, and he is, you know, from Germany, like I said, he's listed all over the place with his height. I've seen 6'9", I've seen 6'10", I've seen a 6'11", I've seen 7 foot. But I think the most respectable site had him around 6'11", so that's what I'm gonna see from now. But he's a great athlete, jumps really high. I can definitely see him playing a Paul Reed role for a team, and their games are similar. But being 6'11" should definitely help him. And last but not least, we have Jonathan Mogbo from San Francisco, the 6'8" forward. To me, I have him undrafted, but I know he's a player that's hot on the radar for a lot of people. So he very well could be drafted, but I have him around 69th on my ranking. 6'8", 225. My comparison for him is Kenneth Faried, who's 6'8", 230. Pretty identical there. Mogbo averaged 14 points, 10 boards, 3.5 assists, 1.5 steals, 1 block per game. Faried, 17 points, 14.5 boards, 2 steals, 2 blocks. So for Faried's college numbers, much better in every aspect. But Mogbo is a good passer in the paint. He's an undersized 4. And that's the problem, though. 6'8". If he's 6'10", fine. He's 6'8", but very good hustle player, athletic, but not a shooter. Another negative. He's strictly a post player and a very raw prospect. Will struggle to find minutes or play at all in the NBA unless he's on the team like the Warriors. You know, and coming from a small school won't help either. The University of San Francisco. But he definitely looks like Kenneth Faried out there when he's playing, which is a good thing, but also a bad thing because Fareed had some great years, but as soon as he got a little older, he was out of the league. Even though we've seen him in the G League still performing, Fareed can't get back into the NBA with the style of game he has now without being able to shoot. So Jonathan Mogbo is in that same range. You know, he shot 64% from the field, but no three-pointers. He's not a shooter, like strictly a post player. That is not a successful formula for today's NBA. So that's why I have him going undrafted. But the talent, he's very talented because he does look like Kenneth Fareed. And I think 20 years ago, he would have been a late first round pick, maybe. But we'll see what happens. He still is hot on a lot of people's radar, but I don't see any way he's getting minutes, especially this year in the NBA. So that was my player comparison show. That was a lot, y'all. If you want to hear me go over it one more time, 1 through 20, I'll go quick. Alex Sarr to Nick Claxton, Donovan Clingan to Ivica Zubac, Zachary Richardson to Grady Dick, Isaiah Collier to John Wall, Tyler Smith to John Collins, Reed Shepard to Corey Kispert, Dalton Connect to Khris Middleton, Jacoby Walter to Josh Christopher, Tijon Salon to Michael Porter Jr., Devin Carter to Jose Alvarado, Tristan Da Silva to Nick Batum, Yves Missy to Clint Capella, Carlton Carrington to Joe Johnson, Keyshawn George to Delano Banton, Jalen Tyson to Isaac Okoro, Johnny Furphy to Kyle Korver, AJ Johnson to Kevin Porter Jr., Pelle Larson to Grayson Allen, Ariel Huckporty to Paul Reed, John Mogbo to Kenneth Fareed. Hope you enjoyed this episode. It took a lot of work to put this together. You know, I'm already scouting the players, and I have to go back and scout the older players that they remind me of. So I try to get these as accurate as I can. Some of them, like I said, they may be like them in one aspect, but need to work on other things in the other. Some might be better, shooters, not as good shooters, whatever. I still try to explain it, put it all together so you can get an idea of these player comparisons. Hope you like them. If you don't, if you disagree, tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where it's like, no, I don't see this guy, but I see this guy. And some are more offensive based, some are defensive based, but I think it's a little bit of projecting in there, what they can be. They may not be good at everything right now in college at 18, 19, but when they're 25, how will they look? You know what I mean? So, and a lot of these comps are to when the players as big name players now, I'm comparing them to when they were in college as well. So not the stars they may be now. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Like I said, subscribe to the Y'all Rookie Podcast. I truly appreciate all your viewership, listeningship. Those are not words again, but I appreciate it. I'm really tired. It's midnight. Until next time, I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.